growing up, but it's kind of like I never thought about going to events because I just didn't think I would enjoy it, right? Or like it just, and then it opened up a whole new world at that point, right? So
plus I do think like a lot of the culture and like the aspects that we really like love about the scene, like outside of music, like a lot of that stuff does more so come through at a festival, where like I feel like for us, like the club events are more like, you know, you're going out because you actually like the artist and you want to see, you know, the music, and those ones are more catered to like, let's listen to the music. Whereas I think the festivals, since you're there for so much longer, a lot of big spaces, there's so many more people, there's like so much more going on and effort that people, you know, do put into it. I think one thing that we are seeing is more of that like festival energy and experience actually coming like more to like that club space or like those types of events. But I think for us, like, you know, everybody, especially at this like age and like depth of raving, like we're definitely sitting around kind of not waiting, but anticipating those like insane festivals, because there's just so much more that you get from it outside of, you know, listening to, you know, a 2-hour DJ set, right? Like something like Valid, Escapade, like those ones that we have here, like there's no on-site options,
Commuter
right?
Fest.
It's Commuter Fest, right?
This is what I said about EDC. I'm like, I've camped at EDC.
Yeah, and it changes the experience a lot.
It totally changes because
that's your home for the few days.
It's literally, I've always told people, you never leave EDC.
It's your backyard.
Because when you stay at a hotel, you have that disconnect. And for me personally, I'm like, I just want to go back to EDC. Even though I may be tired, I'm like, I just want to go back to EDC the next day. But when I was at Camp EDC, I'm like, I'm at EDC still.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you are, right? Yeah. And it really, it changes the framing of the entire weekend, the entire experience, right?
Yeah, it's kind of, when I was planning this episode, I kind of like thought about like, when you go to some of these raves, you actually touch upon the 5 love languages in any
I gotta
you know what I mean? You have the gift giving.
Let him cook.
You have the compliments, right? You have the accompany, spending time together, right?
The physical touch.
The physical touch, and what's the last one?
Oh yeah.
What's the last one? Shit. But
words of affirmation.
Yeah, words of affirmation. So like you get all of that in that community. People.
Yeah, my thing is that like I actually, and you can leave a comment below in the video or on Spotify, but I honestly think substances in the grand scheme of things is a very minor part of the raving community.
Yeah,
when you actually look at it, I know from an outside perspective, it's like, oh, partying and drugs go hand in hand, or like partying, like, but technically club, if you go clubbing, same thing. It ends up happening in any party environment. But I think in the entire like why raving is very special, and like it's a very minor part. It's just, I guess, an enhancer, right?
Like just random, out of random. So
I just think like that barrier there, there's, as what we've talked about with this, with the community behind it's way bigger, and this is just a very minor part. It's gonna be there, but that's my take, is that like you're still gonna get that the five
languages.
It doesn't define raving, the festival experience, or going to shows. People are there for the music and the people.
It's just so interesting how it's like, you know, obviously like probably it's come from like, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s, where it was like such a big thing, and probably like the first time people were hearing about, you know, these substances being used in what setting. But really now, like, it is just something that's like continued to like tag along in terms of the perception and like the stigma around it. But I think we like can all say, and like we all know that like these experiences that we have and going to the festivals is like not even synonymous like with substances, etc.
Welcome back to another episode of the Back and Body Hurts Podcast, where we talk about all things EDM. Thanks for tuning in. For this week, I am your host, Sunny. I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel. To my right is Yikern.
Hey, guys.
To my far right is Christine.
Hi.
And we have a special guest today, and we are joined by Nev.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
So Nev is also a DJ, alias Turbo, and he is one of the co-founders of Levels. Yo, how did you get the Turbo DJ name? Because that's really, I just getting fast, obviously.
Just right into it. I love it. Yeah, no, it's a good story. I mean, I was wearing a pair of these Turbo glasses, if you will, at one of the, like during EDC a few years back.
Yeah.
I had a different name that I was DJing kind of more, just like for friends with my like last name. But I went to the Dom Dalla and John Summit B2B, and they had this inside joke of them going Turbo. And I was there with the glasses on. It was fitting. I said the word turbo a lot, and my friends started calling me Turbo. And then it kind of just stuck, and it ended up becoming my DJ name. It was pretty fitting. I'm a pretty energetic guy. For everybody that knows me, I'm always dancing around, jumping around, and all that good stuff. And then as well, in terms of my like more DJ style, it's pretty much just whatever I'm playing, I'm normally playing a notch above, and like to play that really like high energy stuff, you know, drum and bass.
Even before we started this, I'm like, yo, I need to
stuff,
ask him why Turbo.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, a lot of my friends too, it's just like, oh yeah, Nev. Who's Nev? I mean, Turbo. Oh yeah, Turbo. I know Turbo.
Exactly. Like it fits pretty well with the personality as well, of like who I am as a person. So I definitely resonate with it. And yeah, it's kind of just stuck, and it matches my style for my sets pretty well, I think.
All right.
And you started playing drum and bass?
I mean, I've kind of been all around. I've always really been to like all of the genres. So especially before I started, you know, trying to have a DJ like project and DJ publicly, it would just be like, you know, me and my friends' basements, like throwing parties, playing every genre of VDM because we were into it. And then more recently, once I launched the project, kind of house and drum and bass were the two things that I liked playing the most. But I also have this special roller coaster set, which I kind of try and put all the genres. So
that's like our other former guest Brandon, where he's trying to do speed house right now, but he's like trying to do everything all at once too. Honestly, it could work, right?
He sings and then does the guitar and everything.
Yeah. So it's a little hard to, you know, try and be an everything guy. So that's kind of why the branding is mostly, you know, house and drum and bass, along with, you know, levels. We do a lot of house events. But I think drum and bass is where the project will continue to go in the long term.
That's what we keep saying.
Yeah.
So this year is the year of drum and bass.
Yeah, I've been into it for so long and playing it, and now that's starting to take off as well. You know, there's just a lot more exposure for it. You can actually have it as like a main part of your career. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
So yeah, for this episode, guys, we're gonna deep dive into like a singular question, kind of like one that is very important to all of us, which is, and also it's very important for you, is what makes raving so special. Nev has started Levels. We have started the podcast. So we embody the raving spirit, and through our experiences, we're trying to educate you guys on different aspects. So what we mean by raving is could be local events, festivals, or our general scene in communities and stuff like that. We get asked all the time from people who don't rave. It's like, why do you go? But as ravers, we don't really talk about it together. So we're going to deep dive into our experiences, why we do what we do, why we go to what we go, and also how we want to give back to the community with our podcast and also with the Levels communities that Nev has started. So essentially, what we're trying to do is we're going to sell you this pen.
Yeah.
So through our experiences, we're going to sell you this pen on how it can relate to you.
Yeah, I think like there's honestly so much more to the music and the scene and raving in general. I know that I've been asked a lot by, you know, friends, family, everybody that doesn't listen to EDM, as well as people that do. And I think the biggest thing about like raving and the scene is that we love to share the experience and everything outside of the music as well. And I think for anyone that's listening that is really interested in hearing about, you know, in-depth experiences, going to different music festivals, what's special about different music festivals, as well as just like why we are so passionate about it. I think for even, you know, the new raver, the veteran raver, I think we have a lot of interesting things that we'll be talking about and shedding light on, you know, just why it is so special and why it's so meaningful to us. Yeah,
the one stigma that always is that it's all about the party, right? But for us, it means more than that. So we're hoping with our experiences, we can share, and maybe hopefully it resonates with you, some of our experiences. And like, if you're just getting new into the scene, there's more doors that will open. Like for us, raving is more of a lifestyle, and we're turning it into a passion project as well, exactly. Right? So it'll be an interesting topic. Hope you guys enjoy it. As I said, we might go off on a little bit of tangents, but it should be fun. So I think when people think of the scene, they think of mostly like festivals, right? I guess for the new generation, it's a lot of like, I guess when you see videos, it's mostly festivals, right? As experience, but back in the day, it wasn't like that. So
back in the day, it was a gov. Yeah, you barely have any videos back in the day. So trying to go on this, that's how they grew the stigma of like, oh, you're going to all this underground, like there's not much light, you can't even see anything. Like what is it about? You know what I mean?
And you didn't have video back then either, right?
Yeah.
So
I would have like
blurry videos of the Gov.
Yeah.
if even, actually, I never had videos of the Gov either.
I didn't. I just saw it online.
My phone was so shit that I didn't even bother. And
I mean, back then cameras were also very expensive. You don't really want to bring into event like that. So yeah, then the newer generation is all about festivals, going to different countries, posting it on stories, and people just ask, why do you go to all these things? And then usually when you hear an answer from a raver, just come next time, let's do it. Like we just have a group of friends and
that's what we
roll out.
But as what like the original thing was like, someone new is like, why do you go raving? Well, usually they see our stories and they see us at a festival, right? Mm-hmm. Or like at a club, and it's like, you didn't have that back then, right? You literally, it was exactly that. Just come.
Yeah, just come.
Just come, right? That's how I got into the scene. I kind of listened to music like growing up, but it's kind of like I never thought about going to events because I just didn't think I would enjoy it, right? Or like it just, and then it opened up a whole new world at that point, right? So
plus I do think like a lot of the culture and like the aspects that we really like love about the scene, like outside of music, like a lot of that stuff does more so come through at a festival, where like I feel like for us, like the club events are more like, you're going up because you actually like the artist and you want to see, the music, and those ones are more catered to like, let's listen to the music. Whereas I think the festivals, since you're there for so much longer, a lot of big spaces, there's so many more people, there's like so much more going on and effort that people, do put into it. I think one thing that we are seeing is more of that like festival energy and experience actually coming like more to like that club space or like those types of events. But I think for us, like, everybody, especially at this like age and like depth of raving, like we're definitely sitting around kind of not waiting, but anticipating those like insane festivals, because there's just so much more that you get from it outside of, listening to, a 2-hour DJ set, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of that, like kind of funny, I want to like add on the point, like Chris and John, our previous guests, kind of said that a lot of people are like kind of showing signs of like burning out, but they just want experiences rather than just going out to have a night. So one of the few things that I see some of my friends when I go to festivals, the first thing you see is like the big production. Oh, where's this? And then you slowly kind of dive into the questions that you want to ask, and then you decide to whether you want to go to these festivals, because to be frank, they're not cheap at all.
Definitely.
Right?
Raving is an expensive hobby. We've said
I think that with having burnout, I think I definitely do have burnout. I personally like refuse to go out to shows in Toronto nowadays, like the past maybe half a year, also because I've been going on like a festival rampage for the past year. But I think that sometimes you'll still see appearances from these people who are quote unquote retiring or like taking a break, and it's because they're looking for the spark again and maybe something new that would like get them back going.
So would you say that's you right now?
Yeah.
So like you're looking for, what's it, Liza? You're looking for more of the experience to try and reignite that passion.
I'm kind of chasing the festival high. Like I feel like I really prefer festivals over most shows because I think for individual shows I will only really go see the ones the like artists that I haven't seen before. Maybe once in a while support our locals here, and also like maybe artists that I really, really like that I will go every single year, and that's just like maybe less than a handful, right? So
would you guys say, if you wanted to bring someone new into the scene, would you take them to a festival first or a local show? What's your guys' take on that? Because if you really want them to get like enjoy it to the full, a local show might be the easier aspect, but it also might backfire if you take them to the wrong one.
We took I remember in 2022 we took an 18-year-old to EDC Las Vegas. It was his first rave.
That's tough.
and then we lost him.
Oh, that's overwhelming.
And then when we found him again, we found him in 2 racks of candy. And then he was like, "Oh, can I like leave again, please?" Like he wanted to go find more candy. So like that kicked it off for him. So I think festivals is definitely a go unless people get really, really stimulated. But easier starter would be a show, but I think it would be a hit or miss depending on the music.
Yeah, I for me personally, I think it's a mix of both. I think if someone I know who at least listens to the music a lot more, I would honestly want to bring them to a festival as like a vacation, compared to a show. Now, I have done recently with a friend, a coworker, a little older coworker. He literally the thing I say that he's following my story. He's like, "Yo, I want to go to a rave one time," and I took him to one. But I particularly chose Injuna Beats because it was more of the Injuna Beats crowd is great. Probably one of the most friendliest in the world. So I'm like, this is a great experience. Club mattered. We talked about how venue matters so much.
Definitely.
So same thing with festival. Like, I don't know if I'd bring we've done it before with our former guest Ian's girlfriend, where we took her to Lost Lands for the first time and we made her camp. Oh, she did not have a great time.
Yeah, it's tough. Honestly, this is definitely a subject I'm pretty passionate about because like I have a lot of friends or a lot of like my friends that rave now, like
campers.
Not campers, but more like I was since I've been raving for so long, a lot of my friends that like rave or got into it, like we brought them in, you know, or like especially me and my best friend who've been raving for a long time, Dan XL, like a lot of our friends, like, you know, they saw us going to these things and then, you know, 2-3 years, like after we were going to Veld every year, just the two of us, then
they
next
finally,
thing you know, they're finally like, this looks kind of cool. Like, let me see what this is about. Like, hey guys, can I come? Right. And then it slowly grew that way. I mean, I think it is very important. Like a lot of friends as well hit me up and they're like, hey, like this seems interesting. I like these 1 or 2 artists, but like I know you're into this. Like, what else do you think I'd like? And I think it's honestly really important to like either give them really like the right suggestions, right? Where like, hey, if you're into like this type of non-electronic music, say you're into like pop punk, okay, you actually might like dubstep or bass music, or here's some stuff that you're into. Oh, hey, you are dabbling currently with like Odessa or whoever, like have you tried you know, these other progressive, or like here's some melodic house, or like things that you think they'll like, and then making sure you take them to also like the right show like for that person, because realistically like what everybody's looking for in terms of music experiences are very different. And then I definitely resonate with like venue artists. Like if somebody's like new, it matters, right? Like if somebody's new, like, okay, Excision probably shouldn't be their first show because it might just be like, again, depending on the person, like, okay, it's gonna be a little overwhelming and like, you know, it's like hard to listen to if mostly what you're listening to is like indie music, right?
Yeah.
But you know, going to Coda for a good show that's not oversold and you know it's like a house artist and they kind of like, you know, indie house like type of artists, then like they're probably gonna have an incredible time, and that's a great way to like, you know, show them the right way, right? I
have a question for you, Christine, back to your friend.
Oh yeah.
So that was his first. Did he go to any shows before that?
No.
So what was his experience after that?
It was overstimulation, right? Well, he wasn't scared or anything. He actually really loved it. So we are not really in close contact right now, but then I see him on his social media, and like once in a while he'll go out to shows. He'll be like going to a festival. Yeah, it's like him and the boys he went with to EDC with. Yeah, they're still like doing all that stuff. So it's quite nice. Yeah.
It was funny because like learning from all you guys, whenever somebody asks me, I think about the forward timeline, which show would kind of fit into that matter. Like I will ask like a couple of questions. Do you like this? Do you like that? Do you like crowds or whatnot? And then you kind of fit. Does it fit the Coda vibe? Does it fit the history vibe? Sometimes like before then, I would give up on certain shows just to go with that person, just to introduce this whole entire experience to the new individual, and usually it kicks off, right?
I feel like if you want to be into EDM, you just have to be open-minded enough, because I started listening to EDM like maybe like 2013, and then I went to my first show in 2014 at the Gov. It was Vice Tone. So Vice Tone was a lot easier to listen to. It was a club night near the end of the year. And I think I was still very like confused and oblivious about like the whole scene and everything. My second show was Above and Beyond at the Enercare. So Energy Center.
Not everyone's like Benny Born in Darkness.
So I made my like first rave bra there, got my first candy, still a little confused, but like I kept going. Like I just kept saying, oh yeah, sure. And then I think one of the next things was Digital Dreams 2015. And I ran away from the main stage because my friends were going to another stage, and I clearly remember this, and I was like, dang it. It was my best friend was saying, oh, that's Seven Lions though, but I ran off. And Seven Lions is my number one DJ now. So I think it's just like you have to just keep saying yes and finding the right spot, and I think I chased EDM because of the community.
And also like we're talking about it like it's just like crazy thing, but realistically it's like you're just going out to a bar club and listening to music. But I think it is like, you know, if it is an atmosphere that people are interested in, like they will continue to come out. If it's, you know, you're friends with people that are into this music, you're going to continue to come out. So I think like realistically, although it's portrayed as like a little bit of a community and inside type of thing, I think the biggest thing for like everybody to like take away, or like if your friends are asking, they're interested, just continue to extend that arm, continue to invite them out. And that's like how our, you know, community continues to grow with really great people.
It's just like any other community.
It
could be like, you know, like run clubs. It could be badminton clubs. It's just a community you build around that.
Exactly.
And it's about the experience, right?
Yeah.
Like every time you go, it's each one's unique. So going back to the main thing is like, why is raving so special? Like festivals is like the embodied experience of the entire thing.
Yeah.
But each one's like, I know we've all been to many, like, but like each one provides a different experience. Like Nev, which ones have you been to like this year or recently that?
I mean, this year was a lot. I mean,
I was following his journey, and then we kind of overlapped on festivals, and then like different stuff. And I was just like, I wish I went to Elements. I wish I went to Sham.
I was looking at yours and the same thing. So it's like, you know, you can only do so many, and obviously this is expensive. But yes, this was one of the years that like, you know, I think I'm kind of like close to that peak where finally got a little bit of extra money. We can finally have a little bit extra time, and we're like, okay, we know what's good, we know what we're looking for, and it's kind of the time to like have those experiences. But yeah, we did I did quite a few, but Forest, Shambhala, Elements, Contact Magique, shout out to Contact Magique, and then Lost Lands as well. I did a day of Val to kind of like do what you said,
the
like
hang out,
see the Toronto friends, like you know, all that stuff.
So we talk about the experiences, but what made you lean towards those festivals? Because as what like we said with Christine's friend, like EDC was a good one for like the first one, but then like obviously we always pre-plan like what we're gonna do next year, right? But like we all have our reasons why we leaned into those ones. Well, what was your reason for like these ones? Yeah, as like based on where your musical journey is going in general.
Exactly. I think like honestly every year of raving is like very different from the last. It can change in like so many ways around like just even you finding a new genre or you meeting new people or like whatever direction that takes you in. I think especially this year, like the thought for me was like, one, I went to my first camping festival last year and that definitely like changed.
Which one was that?
That was Forest last year.
Wow.
And honestly, that like definitely changed the whole trajectory for me in terms of what I like, what I kind of want to do in terms of like a little bit more on the career and passion side. But also just like really showed me in a way like a whole other world of like festivals. Because up here in Canada or like mostly Ontario, like we don't have a lot of camping fests. We have massive camping fests like they do everywhere in the States.
It's really like Shams and like some of the little ones. Like
exactly.
Shams is pretty big.
Yeah, like we have a few small ones, but it's interesting because like, you know, American ravers, like every fest they go to is basically a camping fest or at least has the option. And so that was really interesting. So this year, obviously leaning more into that, like understanding that camping fests are something that I really enjoy and something that opens like, you know, so much more about like these fests and the scene. So this year I was like, I don't really want to go. I want to put my money towards camping fests. And so that influenced it. And then in terms of just like the more intimate types of fests as well, Forest really had that intimate feel. It's a lot smaller, like a third of the size of something like EDC. I've done EDC before as well. And as soon as I went to Forest, like I could feel the difference and like the experience of that intimacy, like reflected in like what I was able to gain from it, like what happened during the fest, like all of that stuff.
I said it shapes you, right?
It like, shapes you for sure. And you can see
as what you said, like
different stuff, right?
Your musical journey changes, your taste changes, but also your preference of what you want to do at a festival changes. Yeah. Like EDC, we always it's the carnival, right?
Yeah,
it's the mishmash of everything. But like certain other festivals offer a niche that you wouldn't experience.
Yeah,
that can enhance your experience or guide your musical journey of where you want to go. So.
Yeah, because a lot of people look at me and they think, oh, like this girl like wants to like do a camping festival. And for me, like after like my first like camping kind of experience was like I did like a night or two at camp at Lost Lands, and I was like, this is not it, but I love the proximity. So then I made sure I was gonna glamp at Lost Lands this year, and then but Forest came before that, and I kind of hopped in late because my friends had loyalty. So I glamped at Forest, and that was the best trauma bonding experience ever. And it just kind of like, I was like, if I can glamp, I will glamp. But yeah, it really shapes the way you like view things. And for me, the community I had at Forest made me like relax a lot more.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the community aspect a little later too.
And I think the other thing just about like, I know I use the word camping, but like I'd almost like to reframe it as like on-site versus off-site. Like something like Vald, Escapade, like those ones that we have here, like
They're on-site.
there's no on-site options,
Commuter
right? So
Fest.
it's Commuter Fest, right?
This is what I said about EDC. I'm like, I've camped at EDC.
Yeah, and it changes the experience a lot.
It totally changes because
that's your home for the few days.
It's literally, I've always told people, you never leave EDC.
It's your backyard.
Because when you stay at a hotel, you have that disconnect. And for me personally, I'm like, I just want to go back to EDC. Even though I may be tired, I'm like, I just want to go back to EDC the next day. But when I was at Camp EDC, I'm like, I'm at EDC still.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you are, right? And it really, it changes the framing of the entire weekend, the entire experience, right? Whereas like for the way I always think about it is like something like, those Commuter Fest, like whatever it is, like you are going to almost like watch a movie like 3 days in a row. Where like I'm waking up, I'm gonna like drive or like take a shuttle or whatever it is, and I'm gonna go like live that experience and like watch a bunch of sets or experience the festival, however that is. But I'm going there and I'm living that experience for like, let's say 10 hours or something, whatever you're in the fest. And then you leave and you go home and you're still living that like regular life of like in a hotel or whatever. But on site, even if it is that like glamping, I know Forest has cabins, like you can be on site in so many different ways, but I know people are intimidated by the camping aspect. But when you're on site, it's like all-inclusive type of feel where you're going on a vacation or like an experience or an adventure and you're there in another world or you're there in another experience.
We call it like escapism, right?
Yeah, but you're there for like 4 whole days. And like even the aspects of like you don't have great signal. Like when I go to Forest or Shams, like my phone is, I'm using it as a camera. Yeah. But other than that, like my phone is off for like 4, 5, 6 days and like don't talk to me, don't reach me because like I'm like, and it's great because I think especially nowadays, like we're always connected. You don't have that time to like, get away from things.
Yeah.
But then I do feel the opposite. Like this year actually at Lost Lands, because I camped like 4 or 5 times already that summer, we decided like, let's just do the hotel because it is way more work to like be on site.
Did you feel a little FOMO?
I definitely felt the FOMO. I felt the pros and cons since I had already camped.
But you experienced that disconnect that we talked about, right?
Yeah, where like I would go back to my hotel room and the next morning I'm on social media or the next morning I'm like, getting ready and it's that separation of like, okay, I'm getting ready for
something
an 8-hour event again, but I'm not there, like I've left.
Yeah, because last year I had an Airbnb and like everybody's like, oh, I'm tired. Like after like midnight at Lost Lands, I'm tired, I'm leaving. And then most of your group leaves. But then then there goes the 3 a.m. group, which is like the last group to leave, like to go back to the Airbnb or hotels. But then there's that group that lives on site and they're like, yo, let's go back to camp and like jam some more,
Yeah. And even if you're not like, even if you want to call it at like 2 a.m. and you're on site, like that's still fine. But then you get to wake up at 10 a.m. and you're still on site. And even if it's a little thing as in like you're chit chatting with your neighbor or you wake up at camp or glamping and, you're hanging out with your friends, it still like gives me that like cool effect of feeling like I'm like 9 years old at like my first sleepover,
right?
Where like there is a very different, like when you're a kid, like if you go to your friend's house and it's a sleepover, it's very different than I'm gonna go hang out with my friends until midnight and then go home. Like it has that sleeper effect because it's just like, you're like in it for a longer period of time, doing
glorified
everything.
chill out with everyone.
You're brushing your teeth together in the morning. Like there's nothing like that. When you end up off site, right?
Yeah, bring that experience back.
I want to ask what you did day 3 when everything was shut down and raining, because you did GA, right?
I did do GA,
yeah. How was that? Because for us, we had five glamping tents and we all stuffed into one tent and had like a college dorm party.
Yeah.
But then we were imagining GA people just sitting in their own tents and staring at the ceiling, just trickle. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, like this is something that's so interesting about like those like on-site experiences because like, yes, like Forest this year was like day 3, day 4, a lot of rain. And when you're, you know, obviously there camping, like that is like the horror story that people kind of like think about, where like, yeah, like it's wet, it's muddy, like it's not ideal. But I think two key things that I take away from all of those like non-ideal experiences at these festivals, especially when you're on site, is like, one, everybody there is in the same boat, which the fact that you get to share that like whatever type of experience, as long as it's safe, you know, like, and most of these festivals are great at keeping it safe. Like the worst thing is happening, your socks are getting wet, you're a little bit like sad, like the festival shut down, like, okay, sucks, but
what were you doing?
Yeah, but what all doing, I'll get to. But the takeaway is that like you get to share that experience with like 30,000-40,000 people, and everybody's going through the same thing. And it really like frames, like, at least for me, it's been like very like mentally changing in terms of like you can frame that situation into like whatever you want to be. Like there are people down the street from us, like our street and camping, that are like having a terrible time, but for us, like, just keep the vibes going. We were back at our site, like it was pouring rain, we had pretty decent like coverage with our canopies and stuff, everything like kept up. Again, obviously it's pouring rain, and after we saw that the festival was going to be shut down for like 4 or 5 hours, I think that Saturday night, like we were like, all right, we hopped in the car, we turned on some LED lights, we started playing music off of one of the speakers. It's like, what else are we going to do, right? Like we could sit here and be like sad about it, and there are people that are around that are being sad about it, like, but it really helps like frame your mind where like, yeah, it's Saturday night, the festival got shut down, I was about to go see Subtronics and I can't anymore, but it's up to me to have a good time with my friends. And yeah, in those scenarios, like we were in the car, like having super deep talks with me and my like good friends, and like that night is actually one of my favorite experiences from all of Forest.
It also enhanced my bonds and my experience too. Like I was telling everybody I was paying for trauma bonding, but it was so good. Yeah.
It's like a therapist, you know.
Yeah, and it's just like, again, like you get to have
that's what we
those
say. Raving is therapy, right?
Yeah, it's therapy. Yeah.
So which festivals were new for you this year that you did for the first time?
So Shambhala and Lost Lands.
The first time.
You did Elements before.
I did Elements last year, and I did Forest last year. This year I would say Contact Magique as well. I mean, for those that don't know, Contact Magique, local festival, about 200-300 people there. 2 hours from like Toronto, and I got to play. So that's like, you know, very different experience, and obviously like, you know, your Shambhalas and Lost Lands. But in terms of the big ones, like, yeah, those were the two.
Do you think you're gonna go back to Lost Lands? You didn't get Pyro this year.
I didn't get, but
got the crater.
I got the crater.
Crater was so good. Yeah,
that's even like another similar thing about like these fests is like, and like again, to start even talking about, I know we're going to talk about community a lot on this episode a little bit later, but like, you know, think about the Lost Lands community of like, you know, the fest loses one of the great aspects of a festival, you know, pyro, all of those like special effects, but also the fact that people couldn't really cook on site, etc., because of, for those that don't know, fire ban, because there was a drought in Ohio. But it is interesting where like we are lucky to have such a great community that instead of people being like, well, like, screw the rules, I'm gonna do what I want and cook and put that at danger.
There was only one person I heard. It was just like one fine, but the community was just
so to have
like,
the community do that
so would
amazing,
that be
right?
your selling point? As I said, like, we're gonna sell you
the pen.
Yeah.
Would that be your selling point for these new ones that you went to, or how would you like a Shambhala? Shambhala is very big, but like, what was your selling point? Like, if you wanted to convince someone else to go to experience Shambhala, what would you say?
Convince me, because I've never been to Shambhala or Lost Lands. So, like, I see Shambhala and Electric Forest and Lost Lands. The stages are amazing. You're going to go through a forest. Like, I'm a forest guy. I used to do camping before I went to like Tomorrowland to do camping, and then going to see all these different stages, just the lighting, the lasers. Like, I was so tuned in when I was at Tomorrowland. There was this one stage called Core, and they had trees in the middle of the stage, and when the lasers shine through the leaves and whatnot, you just feel like, wow, you know, that's not something you can see in your, it's like art, like, you know, like Nuit Blanc kind of thing. But like, you don't see those on your regular basis, like going out. Like, when you want to go hiking, you're not going to bring a laser gun just to see.
You don't have that laser box.
Yeah, exactly. So sure, sell me this pen, you know?
Yeah, I would definitely say that like each festival, and you guys know, like each festival has a different culture and it has different like quote unquote selling points. A lot of those selling points are definitely like, you know, not marketed selling points, but more like things that you might read from, you know, people that are posting on the subreddit or in those smaller communities or each other. I would say if we're strictly talking about like Shambhala and Lost Lands, the selling points for those two festivals are actually very different. I would say that for Lost Lands,
It's just bass heads and excision.
pretty much it's bass heads and excision, and it actually, although the community is still amazing, it has less of those like experiential like aspects as like a Shambhala or an EF. Like Lost Lands really
it's more like
on,
EDC in that sense.
It is more like EDC for
except for the camping
aspect.
Dubstep
For the camping
Disneyland.
Yeah,
Dubstep
Disneyland, right? And you have insane production, the biggest, best visuals and sets, and also it is a massive showcase for bass. And so because it is like the mecca of bass, you get all the new music, all the new sets, and every set that you see there is specifically made for Lost Lands pretty much. Whereas like at some other festivals, even Elements, for example, like if I saw some of the same artists at Elements that I did at Forest or Shams, it's not like an exact set or recorded set, anything like that. But obviously if an artist is playing a set like, 2 weeks after the previous one, there's going to be a lot of the same. They only have so much music, right? They switch it up, but like it is cool for Lost Lands. Like you get all the unique edits, intros, like everything. So if you are a fan of bass music, like going there to see like the biggest, best, brightest, like new stuff is amazing because it's all curated. But it is more of that like let's go watch sets type of energy, and a lot less around something like Shambhala and Forest focus on, which is there's a lot more
experimental.
And there's a lot more to do, where even at Shambhala, I would say like in a way like the music is almost like not secondary, but it is part of the art. And so there's so much else going on. I mean, you said you've been to Forest, like Forest Shambhala is just probably a even more like veteran and niche version of Forest, where a lot of art, everybody there is super veteran. Like I would say the average age is honestly like more like
35 to 40, 50.
35, like everybody there that I talked to is like, oh, I'm a 10th Shambhala, like that type of stuff. And I've been to every other festival.
E4 is very similar too.
E4 is very similar, and you get like really like those like people that are just so into it, and like honestly that's what the people that I'm looking to be around.
Because they go out there to go out there versus EDC. These people are like more influencers or like more mainstream, and like Vegas is easy to get to, but whereas like
Shambhala.
Shambhala and Western Michigan, Rothbury, Michigan, like you're gonna have to like mission. Like personally, I don't drive, right? So I took a bus from Toronto to Detroit, and my friends picked me up because they flew to Detroit, and we drove 3 hours. Yeah, you have to like purposely go there.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's a big factor for it as well, where something like Shambhala, like you get all of those people that like they care, because you're not flying somewhere and driving 8 hours into the middle of nowhere just for a few videos, like and so it changes the atmosphere a lot about that. And then like everybody that is at Shambhala, like either working, because it's an independent festival, right? So everybody that is there either working at the festival, playing at the festival, I would say it's similar to Lost Lands in the way that like they are putting blood, sweat, and tears into those sets, into like the guy that is amazing experiences at Shambhala through and through, because even the guy that is standing at the booth that is like selling you a tea, actually at Shambhala, they don't sell like energy drinks or like any of those. It's also a dry fest, so there's no alcohol. So like at 1 a.m., like when you want to drink, you're going and getting a nice like honey lemon tea, which is incredible. We could talk about it later. But the guy that is selling the tea is like a through and through fan, and he's there because he like wants, like he's helping with booking the artist, or he's involved in that stage or that atmosphere. And so again, just the energy and environment there is honestly, I would say like the best that I've been to.
It also helps
and
build.
That would be the selling point. Yeah.
It also helps build the art, right? And then when you see art showcased to you, you're like, that is amazing, and it just resonates with you. And when you find that festival that resonates with you, like for LL, when I saw that big screen on the main stage, I was just like, nice. I want to go, right? And I saw that 360 creator stage. I was just like, yes, I want to go. You know?
They use the second main stage as an after stage too. So that's just crazy to me. But one question I want to ask Nev was, were you able to gauge the ratio between like American like attendees at Shams? Because like the only way to get there is to fly in and then drive, right? I think they have a shuttle bus from Spokane, Washington, which isn't even a big city. So like, can you gauge that? Because it's like a Canadian festival, and it's such a like a staple, like
it's out of the way for a lot of
Yeah,
people too,
yeah.
for a lot of
So-
the major cities, because it is Spokane, Washington, so
Yeah.
like you're getting Seattle crew, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really about it, unless people drive far.
Yeah. I would say like I was actually kind of surprised at how many Canadians there were.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like a weird thing to say
Yeah.
because it's a Canadian festival,
Yeah.
but also like it is in the middle of nowhere, and like
Yeah.
generally like all the fests that I've been to, because they're in like
America.
American, you think it's like such an American thing.
Yeah.
But I would say that like Shambhala definitely has that like Canadian energy to it, which was really interesting because like the Americans at these festivals, all the other ones are already so nice, and then I think like Shambhala was even better because you get like the actual Canadian culture there too.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of Americans because of like the location, and obviously it's really popular. But I would say like you definitely get a lot less of those like, you know, like EDC crowd that's like from LA or like Las
Here to
Vegas,
take
or,
videos.
like here to take videos type of people, where you do get a lot more of the people where you meet someone and they're like, oh, I'm like from the middle of nowhere, like US, or like I'm from, you know, somewhere near like Seattle or Washington or anywhere where they can also drive. But you get people that even are like, oh, I'm from like Denver, or I'm from like Arizona, and I drove like 30 hours, or like
Right.
something like ungodly, like all the way up there. And they do it because they love it. And just also to speak on your point about the art, like that adds to it as well, where
Yeah.
those people as well, like if you're putting 30 hours into like driving across like the United States, like the amount of like preparation that you put into it is so high versus something like, oh, I'm gonna fly into a fest, I'm gonna go for 2 days and I'm gonna leave. Like people are getting ready for Shambhala like since the last one, and the
Or you
effort
can
that
buy
they,
your ticket there for the next year.
Yeah.
and so the effort that they bring to the fest is like insane, where people are like, oh, I'm gonna bring this crazy setup, or like, oh, I'm gonna spend a year making a new totem, or like, oh, I'm bringing like 12 outfits and we're changing, and like, oh, I'm doing this and that, and I have all of these things like prepared. So when it's there, just like the amount of time and energy that also goes into the art that the people bring to the fest is so much higher than what someone would, you know, put into somewhere else.
So
Yeah.
this ties back to what Christine says, where right now the experiences of festivals matter. We're talking about festivals a lot. I kind of want to circle back a little bit where we say, why is raving so special? So obviously experiences at festivals mean a lot, right? Life-changing memories. But what about local events, right? We go to a lot of local events.
I have burnout.
You have burnout, but I know myself, Nev, and Yekern still go to a lot of local events. What like we look for these experiences at festivals. I love my festivals, right? You get experiences you don't get. But what drives us to go to local events, especially if we want to bring like a friend, right? What's something that drives you
Yeah.
to go to a local event?
A potential partner.
It is run club, night run club.
Sprinkle.
Exactly.
I usually say that like it is something that you can it's like a spin class before nighttime, but you kind of dress up in a way, and the whole working out just increases those endorphin of like dancing and whatnot, and eventually just brings more of you out rather than your regular Joe on working hours, because you're like more in the calm state. But once you rush that blood circulation, and you get those like runners high in those local events, and sometimes it's like good escapism.
He always talks about the health benefits. Like
Yeah.
he.
Oh no, but it's so
No,
true.
because it is.
It really is.
But
but
no,
it's
you
a
are
funny
the
comment.
guy.
I guess it is.
I'm an advocate for it.
Yeah.
This is extra cardio.
No, but that's the first thing he says all the time. It's just the
I
health.
mean, how do you
yeah.
think he rationalizes all
Yeah.
of these events every
So,
weekend?
so everyone knows I've gone to so many events locally.
Yeah.
But one of the main reasons is for the cardio.
It is. Yeah.
It is for the cardio. And
Yeah.
it was funny. We went to Shlomo Bia at Coda the other day. And I've been I do run clubs as like just for fun too, just to keep up my endurance, as well as the normal working out.
Just for raving, but yeah.
But it's funny. I've tried to convince my one friend to come. He's like, no, I just do my cardio at Rave. And then he literally did like he watched it.
He watched it.
3,000 calories in 5 hours.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
It's
Yeah,
a
because
lot.
festivals it's easy 15 to 25k. Yeah. But I wanted to chime in. I think that it's because we've spoken about this before. I think that it's because people are slowly moving from the club scene into EDM, just because of the the vibes. Right? People go to the club to listen to music, have fun, vibe with their group, and I feel like I don't know. I think the rave scene and the shows bring a better variety and like it's just plur vibes, right? So you have that already, and I've said this before in previous episodes, like as a girl, you go to the club, you want to vibe with your friends, but there's a lot of times if like there's guys that try to approach you, but like most of the time you feel pretty safe at a show because people are here for the music and not to like prey on girls or prey on people.
And that's we'll get into the community aspect, which is
Yeah.
probably one of the best things about why raving is so special to all of us. But we haven't talked about one of the most important things, the music.
Yeah. So
Right?
when I want to touch upon that, like back then when I was growing up, I wanted to listen to when the artist release an album. I listened to songs like, yeah, this is good when it's like original, and then all the remixes I heard from YouTube, I was like, nah. The original is better. Original is better. So then when you bring that into the club scene, when you have that wave of how the DJ brings you up in terms of spirit and everything. And when they drop your favorite track to remix, you just spike from there. And when you spike from there and you just feel like, yes, I like this. I didn't know I would like remixes, but I like this. You know what I mean? And you just don't feel the same coming out after that. It kind of reshapes you, like touching up on your point, just shapes you into a different person. In that sense.
May I ask how old you are and how long you've been raving for? Because I don't think I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about to turn 28 in a few months.
Okay.
And then, oh man, no, I've listened to the music at least since like 2010. I think my first show was Avicii at the Rogers Center. I actually heard on one of the last episodes that might make a few of you jealous with that one. But, yeah. So that was my first
what year was that?
rave. That was 2014.
So we're about the same age and the same
same
raving.
age experience on the panel here.
Except from
Yeah.
still
Got
the
one
baby
baby in the
one.
room.
I'm still the vet.
Yeah, like I feel like over the years, like when we were in university, like I was heavily raving already, but then these I saw a lot of people that are like, why are you going out there? Like what are you doing? And then now 10 years later,
Yeah.
hi, whatever.
Because the music comes in cycles as well, and I know like especially for us, like when we were in like high school around that time of like there obviously was that like golden era of EDM, like more so the 2014 to like 16 17, but especially when we were even a little bit younger, like the 2008 all the way to like 2012, like 13 14, like that was a very peak era for like rap hip hop music, like definitely like a peak.
Trap started.
That's like what
Grind,
everybody was listening to in high school, like when I was there, and I was listening to a lot of that too, but we were listening to a lot of electronic, and we were definitely the ones that were like a little on the outs because like it was just different, right? Like we weren't listening to that. But
so the one thing going back to the local events,
for
me personally, it's the music as the focal point.
Yeah.
Right. I think with festivals, you have the music, but you have more of the experience. But for me, the reason why I keep going to local events, I see friends, community too, but like the music is the focal point. I know with Turbo, what would you say has influenced you more on your DJ direction? Festivals or like local shows? Or have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question in terms of like what aspects of the actual like enjoyment side of things have like, continues to impact me as like, an artist or as a DJ. I would say like a lot of that impact originally, was like from the music that I loved, and going and seeing club shows. Like, I think that's where you also in a way like do get to, you're there more for the music and you're a little bit more focused in some sense. But I think more recently, like, as I've gotten these experiences, especially the last like 2 years, is like really where post-COVID, like at the time, like, okay, we've gone to a lot of festivals now. I think the experience is like impacting it a lot more, where I'm more so thinking about like, okay, like what type of artist do I want to be? What type of music do I want to make eventually? And what crowds are like, do I resonate with? And really at the end of the day, like, what do I want to say and like project like with my music and the experience that my music can bring? So I think a little bit of both.
Do you think you're going to evolve even more? Like, obviously artists always evolve, but do you think you see yourself even in the next 6 months? Because right now, I think you said you've done more house and like drum and bass, right? But do you see yourself going into like something different that you like techno? I don't know if you're a techno head.
Trance.
Yeah.
Trance.
Like, honestly, if you go and look at a lot of the like archives, at one phase, like me and Dan XL were like spinning on Twitch like every weekend. And there's
COVID?
COVID times.
COVID time.
Yeah, like, and so there's a long list of like you can find me playing almost every genre. If you would like a trance set or a side trance set or even like you mentioned techno, like yeah, I've done it all. Even opening for Danny Avila like earlier this year, like we played like a complete like melodic techno opening set. So yeah, there's still so much and so much music, and I really don't. Although I'm trying to like focus, I listen to all of it on a regular basis, so I love spinning it. But in terms of as an artist, like I would say like I'm a baby. You know, I've been publicly spinning and trying to like, you know, push this project for the last 2 years, but I mean, I'm only just starting to learn how to produce now. I haven't released anything. I mean, I have a handful of like sets, and I think like from a DJ, I'm, you know, I would say I'm very experienced because I've been DJing even at like since like 2015, 16 as well.
Yeah.
But all of that was just like for fun. So I'm very confident in my DJing abilities, but I think I'm honestly such a baby still in terms of like this project, like who I am as an artist, constantly thinking about it. But I mean, I'm not even in my like first life, I would say, where like, you know, look at some of these other artists, like even like, let's say Porter Robinson, because he's on tour and I've been seeing a lot of videos, like he's in his like, what, 4th, 5th era as an artist of like reinventing himself and like pushing out different music.
Did you go to the Smile tour?
I didn't go to Smile tour because I was at Lost Lands.
Oh, yeah.
But I know, so it's hard to keep track of me. So I was at Lost Lands, I would have gone, but I love Porter as an artist, but it's just like so interesting where if you look at any single artist, right, like every 3 years, like they're shifting gears a little bit because either you're kind of following what you're interested in, you're following, you know, new sounds that come that inspire you, you're following different trends. Like there's so much that go into it. So yeah, I mean, I'm still an infant.
Means you have a lot of room to grow.
So much.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the topic, like why is raving special? We've talked about experiences at festival. We've talked about local shows, how to discover music, but we keep touching upon this, and I think it's time to dive into
Let's do
it.
it.
Honestly, I think we can all agree one of the biggest things is community.
Yeah.
I think the EDM community is what makes it so special. Like, doesn't matter local shows. Yes, we've heard the things about the tech house party crowd, right? Like the vibe might be a little off.
They're coming from pure clubbing.
But that's, yeah, exactly. Where clubbing is kind of on the downtrend and more of these experience. But as what you said, you hear all the time, Lost Land fam, Shambhala fam, Electric Forest family, right? These communities is what, me personally, it encompasses everything: the music, the atmosphere, and the one thing that EDC does it the best, where they list all the artists, but the main headliner is you, and you are a part of the community, right? So we talk about the community.
We say it's cheesy,
It's
but
so
it actually
cringy.
is real. Yeah,
it is a little cheesy, but
The community is built up of all of us. Like even us four, we could be a community, right? Of like we're experienced ravers, so we're sharing our knowledge for the topic for anyone listening, right?
Yeah, I think I want to say that in the topic of community, like you can, like we mentioned earlier, you can have run clubs, there's honor societies in school, you could be part of like professional like organizations. But personally, I think those groups have a bar. There's a certain like a requirement to be like, you know, for like a run club, you need to be like, you want to be running, like you want to be like, you're probably athletic, or maybe you're trying to like lose weight, so you have to be running. The requirement is you have to run. And then like honor societies, there's a certain GPA bar. A professional society, you have to have like this amount of connections or this amount of experience. But for the rave community, you don't need to have any rave experience. I think the only thing is that you like the music, right? Like you're enjoying the music, right? Or like you're enjoying some type of EDM, and like you're willing to participate, and that's about it, right? So like I think there's no bar into the EDM community, and it's because everybody's so, we're like, even if you're not like as open-minded, you're taught to be open-minded. And I think I grew up with like very conservative parents. My parents are boomers, like actual boomers, and I come from like an Asian family. And like the reason why I go back again and again to like rave communities, or keep finding, if like one doesn't work out, I keep finding a new group of new home for myself, is because it's so open and it opens up my mind for it.
Yeah, you're changing as a person too. We're all growing, right? Even throughout the years, like we talk about career growth and all that, but even our musical journey, our experiences, with every festival, as I said, the reason why we keep going is because every festival is a unique experience, right? So, I mean, I think that can resonate with a lot of people. What's some stuff you guys have seen in the community that's like made you, as why we love raving, like something you've seen that's been like, man, I love this community. Any thoughts? Any experiences recently?
Yeah,
Could be anything.
I think one thing that you continue to see, especially at these like bigger festivals, like once you get more into it, is honestly just how like giving people are. And I think that culture of, yeah, like everybody is like in that family type of environment where people like, there's the culture of like, you know, trinkets and plur and like all of that stuff where like people will literally like meet you 1 second and the first thing they do is like, let me give you something because you're part of the family. I don't even need to know your name. I'm going to give you something immediately. And like that openness and fact that it's just like everybody's like, what's mine is yours in this community is like such a family type of mentality. And I think that's just like one thing that's so interesting that is so true to our like EDM culture that just like perpetuated over time. But I think that makes like such a big difference.
Yeah, you might not have their socials and stuff. It's interesting because I've had these like candy exchanges or people giving me things, and then like even at Lost Lands, a girl saw me and my friend and we were matching colors. She's like, I've been waiting for someone to give like this matching blue and pink perler bracelet, and then I just left it as it is, and I was like, oh yeah, like I was like a little like out of it then, so then I was just like, oh, like this was a nice encounter, but I didn't get her socials. But then like a few, like maybe a month ago, I saw her on a clothing website story, and then I followed her back and I was like, oh, thank you so much, you're so sweet, and like it was like a very nice encounter, and now I have her on socials. So yeah.
And even just like more logistically too, like if you're at a rave, like, and someone sees that, you know, you need something, or like your friends have water, like water, gum, I know nasal sticks, like all of those types of things, like it's, if people come to the rave like with things, like even I'll be at like Shambhala one time and people are giving out candy, and like, you know, you're just hanging out beside people, you give you a glow stick here and this and that, and like
we've talked about,
you know, like 3 hours later you're like, oh yeah, I was doing this and now I got a lollipop, I got candy in my pocket, and like that, like I like gummy worms or the, you know, like all sorts of stuff. And so it is just like so nice that you see it always in the community. Like sometimes even like, you know, like Lost Lands, like in a mosh pit, like things are going, like people are pushing each other for fun and like having a good time. But as soon as somebody like stumbles over, immediate stop, like help them up, like all that. And so it really is just like, let's have that like communal fun. But also it's just like everybody's always looking out for each other, like through and through. You walk through the crowd, people are fanning you. Like it's just like, so yeah, I think that's
different.
Such a core piece,
like,
which is so interesting.
Our like even each other's stories here, that how we met everybody. So I will explain quickly. Like I met Sunny because I pointed out his Ultra hat while I was working at Rogers, and he was like my customer. So that's how we became friends. And then like through all of that, he introduced, like he and Benny like pitched like the podcast, and I met Ekern through the podcast. But yeah, like I've been very annoying to him over the past year, but but like he's taken it. And then I think you followed me on Instagram, and I like we became like we were like speaking a lot.
We just had like a lot of mutual friends, and
finally meet you now. So and like, it's over the community. Yeah,
it's so interesting because I mean even us, like I think we just met each other raving, and it's interesting because you can go to any EDM event and you can turn to the person next to you and just be like, yo, what up?
Yeah,
and they're like, what's good? And you're just like, you rave, I rave. All right, we're best friends now. That's it. Like that's literally it. And
but at the same time, you know what's nice? That you can go alone and not feel alone exactly like that. But also, if you just want to experience it alone, you can.
Yeah.
So like one thing I really like with the Shambhala, it's like the whole community aspect. I find that more. But like for EDC, as like with Christine's friend, if I want to fuck off and go watch drum and bass and no one else wants to watch it, I will go watch drum and bass.
Yeah.
And
nobody would judge you.
And I can talk to someone, I can not talk to someone.
Yeah.
And once again, going back to music is a very important aspect for that too.
Yeah.
But you get hand in hand in both. So
it's very funny that you mentioned like let me fuck off and go listen to drum and bass, because like when I met you at HeadX, that's what I mean, it's a show, it's different, but that's what I was doing. I went to HeadX by myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that like Kayla was going to be there, and that's how I ended up meeting you, but I was literally like fucking off and going to see drum and bass at Coda, and that's how I met you. So I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that.
It was kind of when I was planning this episode, I kind of like thought about like when you go to some of these raves, you actually get touch upon the 5 love languages in any
okay,
I gotta
you know what I mean? You have the gift giving.
Let him cook.
You have the compliments, right? You have the accompany, spending time together, right?
The physical touch.
The physical touch, and what's the last one?
Oh yeah.
What's the last one? Shit. But
words of affirmation.
Yeah, words of affirmation. So like
Yeah.
you get all of that in that community. The people just giving you something, people complimenting your dress, people complimenting your costume, like spending time with your friends, and then like saying words of affirmation, giving you physical touch by hugging you and things like that.
That's a big epiphany.
Yeah,
That's
but
huge.
like you get all of that and you feel so full in that sense. And when you come out of the event, you just feel like I need to go to the next one.
But we can also relate that to local events too, as what I mentioned with Injuna Beats. When I took my one friend, I knew, even though it's not a festival, Injuna, I think it was 600 that we can eat. So like the entire most of the Injuna crowd was in Mexico City for 600. But even our local Injuna crowd, it's like, this is the perfect environment because I know the community is going to be very friendly. Also venue helps, but community is going to be very friendly he's going to be on the dance floor. You know, he's not going to run into anyone bad. No one's going to give off bad vibes. So it could tie into both too, which is great.
Yeah. You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
Raving has all 5 love languages. Current 2024.
Yeah.
Clip it.
That thought just came into me. Yeah.
That's
The man
so
cooked
crazy.
right there.
Yeah.
You never really thought about it, but then now you think about it, it really hits.
And
all
you
So
the
it
can
notes.
hits everybody's points because
Yeah.
everybody has different ones.
And you can
right?
experience all 5 of those within the first 30 seconds of meeting someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is so wild. And you know, I mean, if you play back any rave experience of like 2 friends meeting or you meeting someone, it's, oh, hey, what's your name? Oh, I love your whatever that you're wearing. Oh, here, let me give you something. Oh, like, I love you. Oh, this is sweet.
Yeah, and
oh,
then
let
you-
me give you
you
a
hug,
hug.
yeah.
And then, boom, you're off to the
And then you're
now
like
let's watch
bopping
the
to the
set.
set. Yeah.
All 5
And then
love
your
languages.
bo-
Check.
Yeah.
We're besties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is there anything you've noticed within the different communities? Like obviously, like camping festivals has a different community, but is there anything? Where do I want to go with this point? I guess has the different communities changed you at certain festivals, like Lost Lands community, Shambhala community? Has anything?
I think I'm more reserved probably at EDC.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of first timers there, and I'm not saying they're all like would irritate you, but some of them aren't there for the music, and they're there for like, you know, the influencing and the clout chasing, and a lot of these people at more mainstream festivals don't understand the protocol, the etiquette, the plur etiquette, and like, you know, shoving people like Ultra Miami, notorious for bad crowds, right? Like, and like it's just very like, so I find myself at like more staple festivals slightly more reserved, but obviously within my group I'm fine, right?
Now
But
here's a question for
yeah.
you. So we say Lost Lands fam, the entire base community is there. Shambhala fam, like, you know,
Headbangers.
E-Force fam, like, you know, the veterans. But what about communities within those bigger festivals? Like, you know how I say I fuck off at, like, I find, and you guys can touch upon this, that when I go to EDC and I fuck off to the hardstyle stage,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to find that community there that I was looking for, right? Whereas I would not find it at Kinetic Circuit Grounds or Kinetic Field, because exactly your point.
yeah, I feel like at EDC Las Vegas, it's I don't know if I've seen people go there solo, like just enter, like as in like
I think a
you
lot of people have.
I feel like, because like from what I know, like even if you solo off, like a lot of us solo off, but we went with a group. Yeah.
I know what you
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
Another thing is
It's a little
very-
logistically challenging.
that is the
yourself,
thing.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very costly festival to go
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
It
Whereas
is.
like you're gonna be on a shuttle for 2 hours, you kind of want a homie.
That is true. Have you guys, so with stuff like that, like in EDC, if you guys have ever gone on side quests is what we call it, do you have different experiences at this different stage? Like, do you find if you're more towards the front, you get a different crowd, more towards the back, you've seen that meme where the older you are in the scene, the further back you get.
Oh,
But
yeah.
do you have a sweet spot that you find within the community? Like if you go to a certain stage where you want to be, or sometimes you just
No, I just do whatever. Yeah, like at one point, like maybe 5 years ago at EDC, I was doing Chris Lorenzo, Chris Lake, and I was just shuffling at the very, very back where the arch is to enter. To enter the stage.
emphasis.
But then like I like this year Armin van Buren was pretty good, and I was just kind of like listening to the side, and then I wandered off. Yeah, I think it's vibes, whatever your mindset is in. It's like,
And you guys rail riders?
I mean, my friends will know this, and like I'm extremely particular about where I end up for certain sets.
Oh, I am too.
Yeah, and I know you're the same, Sunny. I mean, very calculated. We're like, I'm sure I know we're the type of people where we're like triangulating the speakers, and we're like, all right, this is the spot, you know?
Oh, that's Benny.
Oh yeah, that's Benny too.
I remember we went to, who was it? Lily Palmer? Was it Lily Palmer? No. We went to a show at CZ, and like he like came to say he goes to a lot of solo shows, but he came to like bop with us for a bit, and then he just like disappeared, and we turned around and we saw him, and he just like excluded himself and just stood at a back somewhere. And
he does that at Coda.
Yeah,
we know we call it the Benny spot.
That's the where the speakers are apparently.
Front right DJ.
But it was but it was
On the
CZ.
stairs.
It was CZ. So it was another.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Lily. It was another female.
Oh! I know.
Yeah.
Leanne
Roberts.
Leanne Roberts.
The techno girls.
Yeah.
But yes, in terms of like the spot or like what you're looking for, like, yeah, absolutely. It depends on the vibe, like how much energy you have, like the types of like people you are like looking to interact with. Not that one's better or different. It's more just like what mood you're in and what you're looking for. I would say that like, yeah, no, sometimes going to the rails is like extremely fun. For me, like
Too old for that.
I am too old for it, but
I got
like
pissed.
say for example, like it also depends. Like I'm a big proponent of like you could see an artist at a certain festival at a certain stage at a certain time, and if that time was an hour or two earlier, it could be a no-go for how that experience is going to go. But if it's 2 hours later, it could be perfect based on a conflict. And so like definitely when I'm like planning out like what I'm looking for, I like, especially now, like there's a lot more that goes into the decision of like what sets to go for, or even like what shows to go for like an artist at a venue with like a certain type of crowd or like a certain opener. Even like I think those, even like the smallest variables can kind of like change the experience. So for example, for like Seven Lions at Forest this year,
I was in middle near the front.
So was I. And I mean, maybe, you know, you could also be beside each other and one person could have a great experience and like somebody else could not, but there was like so much space.
There was
up
a
at
lot
the
of
front.
space.
It was like so spacious. I forget who else was playing, but also there was definitely like Forest. One thing I love is like love and hate. The conflicts are insane, but it also means that at all three main stages at all times, especially in the night, like
it's always traffic control though. So yeah,
there's like three massive artists. So no matter where you are, and it's not that packed. So like I was like front, middle, like right up there for like Seven Lions, going crazy, and like so much space. But again, like if it was 2 hours earlier, for example, and like there wasn't a big conflict, like boom, slammed, you know? So I think all of that stuff like really changes where, yeah, like again for Forest, like for LSZ on the last day, like it just finished getting like rained out. And then we went back in for LSZ and like, oh my God, like the entire festival was there. So it's like, okay, I'm not really going to go like, you know, marathon myself all the way in the front. Like I will find a nice spot at the back. And obviously the visuals and the lasers are a big part of that experience. And so, you know, okay, the back middle is the spot to be, because then I can actually experience like everything, the production, all of that. So I think a lot has to go into those decisions. It's hard to make on the fly sometimes. But
so we broke it down to genres and also festival. What about the communities within an artist? Like I said, LSZ, that community who loves Close and LSD Dream, right? Like,
they're trippers.
but I guess they fall under one genre. But sometimes those communities can be. Okay, so it got a lot of flack with the bass nectar community. Yeah. It's still big, but all the accusations and everything, and now his career is done. But like that is a community within an artist, above and beyond. Yeah. That community within the Anjuna crowd.
I mean, even talking about like, I think John Summit is a very like I think a good like use or a good like example of like the community, you know, where that one can be very different based on where you're at. I got some passion over here.
The Ophelia fam.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Ophelia Records family.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw. I'm so sad I didn't get to go with the block party. Such a like, you know, there was a few locations: Seattle, San Francisco, I think, and New York, and I missed all three of them. But yeah, it was like such a community. Like everybody's so passionate about like everybody under the label, and like the artists are actually there to interact, and like they vibe with the fans that are there too. Like it's so intimate. Like I like you know, I'm like everybody, if you listen to our podcast, you know I'm like major Ophelia Records person. But yeah, that's the community.
Even right now, like if you're new to those community, when you talk to the people there, they will tell you life stories about that what that label has done to them. I've seen this guy. I got it signed. I bought a vinyl.
Tattoos.
Like you just like
name my son after him.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty
like,
much. Yeah, and that really like resonates with all of that. And
Name my son after him. My name Jeff.
my name Jeff, and there's extension N.
Well, we had we did the raving as a parent, and our guests Spencer and Jess. Spencer wanted to name his kid Armin.
Oh yeah,
First two
that's
artists.
hilarious, man.
That was completely vetoed out.
Yeah, I mean, like you just feel that whole scale of the art just resonating with everyone, and like I would say it's beautiful to experience it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And it's also like, let's be real, like each artist, like their music is like, music, but it's so much deeper, right? Like when you really like get into like analyzing the lyrics or hearing it over and over again, or like the feeling that artists portray, especially when you have been like following someone's music for so long, and also maybe following them more as like a person as well, not just their music, their social media, but also interviews, etc. Like I know all of us are like consuming the content from the actual artist, maybe even more in some cases than just like listening to their song or their album that's coming out. When you are at that level, it's like I'm sure we feel this, like I feel like I'm friends with so many of these artists, even though I've never met them, etc. I've seen them play like countless 5-10 times, and it's like you understand what they stand for as a person, what you can see in interviews,
and the meaning behind their music. Yeah,
and then it touches you in that way, and it changes you. You listen to these songs when you're going through good times or bad times, and it gets you through it, or it also helps you think in a different way. So I think with all of that, like the communities stem from the like what the artist stands for as well, because they're pushing it through, or spreading it through their music and what they're saying, all of that stuff, their platform.
So one more thing on we talk about our community being involved. What if you're introverted? Like we say you can talk to the person next to you, but sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah.
Especially like you don't know. I guess vibes matter too, where you are in the crowd. But I guess we're actually gonna do an episode on this, guys, for future.
Are you bringing a huge introvert on?
No, we're not bringing introvert, but we're gonna talk about once again, like we talk about like why raving is like very important. But it's more of like, what if you don't know anyone in the scene, right? What if you want to go experience this, but you're the nervousness of like going solo to an event, right?
I've had a friend that is more, I think she's more introverted, and she would probably say the same too. She was like my uni room dorm mate. She started raving the past year, and then I think she just slowly found a group of friends that were willing to try raving with her. And then she listened to our EDC episode.
Oh, really?
And before they went to EDC, and they found it useful. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a leap. I do know some loose friends here and there that are more introverted. You really just have to have a buddy or that has a group, or a buddy that like raves. And then like I see a lot of them, they just stand there and they're like, and you say hi to them, and they're like, oh. And they're just jamming.
There's a lot going on for them, right?
You just let them do their own thing. But like, yeah, essentially you need to have like at least like one buddy that's like willing to do it with you. Yeah.
But I also think like I think that there's so much room for every personality at within the community. And I think that's something that is like so beautiful, where I don't think there's ever much like, I know we see it, especially all of us are probably extroverted people, we're on a podcast, but like I think like from an introverted, or even just like whatever you're interested in, I think I love especially the more like niche, like Forest, Shambhala, like those types of festivals, because people are so like just themselves, and people are accepted into like share themselves in whatever format that is. Like we know, like I love watching people that do flow art, and a lot of those types of people, like from chatting with them, or like, seeing them, like a lot of those people might be like a lot more introverted, but they will literally pull up with all their toys and they just have a time by themselves, right? And so I think like you could do that, or there's also all the time you see at like Shams Forest, like people are just, like you said, just hanging out, just listening to the music by themselves, like might just be solo walking around having a good time. And so I think like whatever your personality is, like that's the best part about these, like the scene in the community is like you are just like so welcome to like do whatever you want. And there's so many stories that I could talk about that. It's just like you walk by and like we've all seen it. You walk by, someone's just doing something super weird. You know, someone's just like sitting on the ground in the middle of the thing. You're like, all right, let's walk by. Or someone's like
our former guest Ian in the ice cream story. It's like he just saw some girl eating a popsicle or something, and he's just like, "Where did you get that? And how did you get a second one?"
Oh, I mean,
no, because he came back, he looks, he's like, "Where'd you get a second one?"
Yeah, or like people will be doing like just like the weirdest things because you're just like, how? Like, how did this happen? And you're just like, oh,
it does open up people. I will say, if you are introverted, a lot of these communities do open you up, right?
Yeah, I think for introverts, like extroverts will come up to you. Like as long as you're not like wired out, then like extroverts will come up to you. And then I've seen a lot of friends that bring friends around that are introverted, and they'll just disappear, and then they'll come back, or like they leave early. And then they're like, oh yeah, my friend just left, whatever.
So you mentioned wired out. There's one thing I want to address, which is like a big elephant that a lot of people like in the community kind of people who don't rave just associate it with, and that's unfortunately substances, right? Vitamins is what we call them.
Rave vitamins.
I guess what's your guys' take on that, for us trying to say like what makes raving so special? Obviously vitamins unfortunately can be a synonymous part of the community.
I actually about a few weeks ago, before my last trip, I had a conversation about my raving with my uncle and aunt, and they're like in their 60s. So they had a pretty open mindset, but the learning curve was that since we're from Asia, this is the difference. Vitamins in Asia is, I personally, you can correct me because Ikern's actually from Malaysia, but like vitamins in Asia, they're like, I feel like there's less of an ethical aspect to it, where in North America and maybe Europe, like there's a lot of informational. People speak about the usage of substances and vitamins. Like there is usage, be open to usage, but there are side effects. There are stuff that consequences that comes along to it. But there is a lot of conversation in the community about like safe use, or like just the side effects to whatever the vitamin is to it. Whereas in Asia, like there's more of a, I was told there's more of a scene where it's like you get your drinks spiked a lot more, or like you're forced to like take things that you aren't like supposed to take or you didn't want to take. And I even had a friend who he engaged in substance use here normally, but he went back to Asia and his friend spiked him, and it was, I believe it was spiked with M. Yeah, so like the M word, that's not the typical one, the worst one. But yeah, like I feel like over there's a lot less education about it, and since like it's more taboo because you could get like you get killed for it, that's like your consequence, or you get jailed. Like the sentences are a lot harsher. Like here in the entertainment industry, it's very common to hear that some artists are like having substance abuse, and like, you know, it just passes through as news. But in Asia, they're literally canceled. Like you will not see them for the next 5 years unless they post like a 30-minute apology, or like they write a very long letter and like give you a whole proposal of why like they wouldn't do this again, and this is bad, and like how I shouldn't have done it. Yeah,
I think when it comes to anything, just I said like each region does it differently. I know Europe is very more open to this compared to North America. Like you've seen at some festivals where they don't allow like substance testing, right? Whereas in Europe it's like, no, please please test yourself.
Yeah, in Canada you could get a kit for free as long as you have, like in Ontario, if you have an OHIP, you could go to the pharmacy and grab your own naloxone kit. Naloxone kit. Yeah, so if you have a OHIP and you would like to carry that around with you, it doesn't have to be for you. If you're going to these like events, it could always be useful for somebody. Yeah.
My thing is that like I actually, and you can leave a comment below in the video or on Spotify, but I honestly think substances in the grand scheme of things is a very minor part of the raving community.
Yeah,
when you actually look at it, I know from an outside perspective, it's like, oh, partying and drugs go hand in hand, or like partying, like, but technically club, if you go clubbing, same thing. It ends up happening in any party environment. But I think in the entire like why raving is very special, and like it's a very minor part. It's just, I guess, an enhancer, right?
Yeah, I don't think people understand. Some people that don't understand this, I don't think they understand that alcohol and cigarettes that are legal can do as much of a harm to your body than the some other illegal substances that people take at like raves or like just random, out of random. So
I just think like that barrier there, there's, as what we've talked about with this, with the community behind it's way bigger, and this is just a very minor part. It's gonna be there, but that's my take, is that like you're still gonna get that the five
languages.
It doesn't define raving, the festival experience, or going to shows. People are there for the music and the people.
It's just so interesting how it's like, you know, obviously like probably it's come from like, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s, where it was like such a big thing, and probably like the first time people were hearing about, you know, these substances being used in what setting. But really now, like, it is just something that's like continued to like tag along in terms of the perception and like the stigma around it. But I think we like can all say, and like we all know that like these experiences that we have and going to the festivals is like not even synonymous like with substances, etc.
It's very shocking. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just like it is such like an outside type of like stigma and like stereotype, right? And I think like it's important, like appreciate what you guys are doing, because it's important to show especially like people that are not in the scene that are even like thinking about it, where like I've had friends that are like, oh, I want to like come out, but I don't want to do it. I'm like,
don't do it. Dude,
the facilities allows you to not do it. They provide you so many things, free water.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna drink half a Red Bull and dance my ass off. But other than that, like that's all you got to do, you know. And
I think it's very shocking to think that like raves used to be illegal, and it's like if you think about it, like for what reason? Like you can go without taking any substances. You're just there listening to music, and somebody's performing art.
Yeah.
So
and I think it's interesting because like also like obviously like alcohol is so prevalent in terms of just like clubbing or just any sort of social experience, but now I would say in the rave community, compared to like almost like any other social setting that I end up in, there are so many more people that are completely sober, where like if you go out, etc., like most people are either just, you know, drinking water because we're, you know, just drinking water because we're like sweating so much. But outside of that, like and I think that's a really great thing, and hopefully something that people continue to like talk about and portray, because I think like sober raving is so popular, and it just doesn't get enough like, people talking about it.
Everyone knows I'm a huge advocate for that.
Yeah,
right?
Me as well.
So okay, so we've touched on a lot of good points. Now that we've sold you guys this pen, if you have any as I said, if you have any thoughts on what we've talked about, any comments, anything you disagree about, leave comments in the video, Spotify.
Shoot us a DM.
We'll be happy to chat about it. And if you're new raver, you have any questions, always reach out to any of us. But it's honestly one of the reasons why we started this podcast, right? We saw the niche out there, that there's not really stuff out there other than through friends and experiences. But we're not talking about like stuff like this, right? On like why these communities exist, and like, once again, the stigma of the party, right? But there's more to that involved. So it's why we started the podcast. It's why we have the variety we do to, you know, tell people that, yes, you can start off as a party, but it could evolve into more of that. It could evolve into like a community that you appreciate for life, right? Some of my closest friends are people I've met in the community, right? So I know we're going to move on to levels right now. Based on all this, what was the initial drive for levels that you saw through your experiences that you had?
Yeah, I mean, the origination really was like, hey, we're doing this stuff. We're throwing small scale events again, like in our friends' basements, and like renting out small places, etc. And it was just like our personal community had actually grown like so large, where we were like, again, shout out to my best friend Dan, who was like hosting us with like 40 of us in his basement, and like in his basement, and it's like, all right, like there are too many people in here and it's too hot. We should, and we're also like, we were getting super into DJing ourselves, and we're just like, hey, look, like we have people that like want to continue to come out and hang out with us, and like we, again, like we're proponents of like inclusivity, and we're like, we don't want to like, it sucks telling people like, oh hey, like we're in his basement, there's only room for like 30 of us, but like absolutely, like we want you guys to like keep coming out, and people again just like kept, you know, you have that rotating door of people, and every time they would come hang out with us, like they're like, oh, we want to keep coming. Like, we love the music, we love hanging out with you guys. And so that's really where like Level started, where we're just like, yo, we just need more space to do this. So we threw a few different parties. We rented a few different places. But also, like you said, like we were so passionate about it, where we were also like, people throw big events, and like we could totally do that too. And so it's the blend of like, we just wanted to continue to grow it to like, you know, do that passion of like playing music for people and having a good time with like people that we love in the community. But also like there is that aspect of like, we love this so much. We think like we have a unique like look on what we like about it and like what we could bring to the table as well.
Was there any specific inspiration you had to start it? Like any like artists, anything in the scene? Like we talked about the festivals, anything that inspired you guys, hey, let's do this for the community, right?
It's just the basement community,
just
right?
the basement community.
No, like I would honestly say it really was like that like basement community where, and like these are the people that still support us like to this day, of like all our friends that come out. But yeah, it was like we had been raving for so long at that point where like we knew like, okay, it's not something that we just started like last year and we're like into it. It's like, okay, well, we've been like putting like every waking hour into like listening to the music, like learning how to DJ, like consuming the content. Everything is like, okay, we've been doing this for 7-8 years. I think we like this. So like let's also try and pursue it like in a passionate way where like, who knows, eventually, like again, the goal still is like, let's make this more than just a passion. Like let's turn this into a career, a business, a company that we can take our passion and also like give back to people and like create unique experiences, right?
I think was 9Kai part of you guys?
Yeah, like Pi is still our super good friend. He wasn't necessarily like part of Levels, but like he was basement community.
I remember him. Like,
I like that term, basement community.
I remember seeing a lot of stories on his story, and I'm like, damn, like you guys are hosting. Like I think it was those ones where it was like, oh my god. And I think over COVID, it was like his gym room that he filled up people in. I don't know.
Yeah, like no, Pies was also like one of the basements.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, but also his house and everything. Yeah, we'd like host there all the time, and like we just had like our big group of friends. Like, you know, shout out everybody that would just like, you know. Also, it's the same thing I was saying about like giving. Like it just was like, there's such a family environment where everybody's like, oh, I can contribute this or this, just to the vibes. And we were all like learning how to DJ and stuff. And
it's kind of a way to grow together, right?
Yeah, we grew together. Yeah. And like from the start, like Levels has always been like, even when we were doing like partying together and stuff, and hanging out, it was also like, look, we're all trying to like grow this. So why don't we also like, as like me and Dan and our co-founder Kenny, like we are all business backgrounds. So the three of us are also like looking at it from that standpoint of like, look, why don't we help create a platform where like we can give like a start to like us, but also all of our friends that are either learning how to DJ, learning how to, you know, do visuals or photography, media. We all want to get into it. And that's like really how we like started, and like really the ethos of Levels is continue to give people a platform.
I want to say ours was not that elaborate. It was literally Benny turning to me saying, yo, you want to start a podcast? And then it's like, all right, let's talk about it. And then we actually worked out the details of like, wait, what do we want to actually do with this? And even you've seen, we've been, and for all listeners, we've been growing. We've been taking the changes, feedback that everyone's told us, and we've been growing, and we've turned
it into... And the topic becomes more niche. Yeah.
Well, I'm also looking at hindsight, right? Like when we were starting it, was like, I don't know, we could probably get the decks and a generator and pull up on Woodbine. Like that would be fun.
Or and like so, forest,
and then we got shut down 2 hours later. So like we do that, and then, you know, next thing, you know, we're like, our first event was in the back of like a taco shop, like Taco, shout out for giving us that first event. And we were just like, you know, riding off the seat of our pants, like, let me just DM like everybody that I know ever and see if they want to come out and like listen to us play some music. But that's how it starts, you know. You and I encourage everybody and anybody that's like interested in this to like, you know, find something that you enjoy about the scene and like, you know, continue to like, or pursue it in a way that's like more than just like an activity, like turning it into a hobby or like even a side hustle in a way, because like having good people operate the community and operating the industry is like how it stays like so good and core, where I think we see it like sometimes we go to events that's like, it's not ravers that are throwing this event, it's a company or a corporation. And again, like those, shout out to those companies because they're putting on amazing events, but I think the ones that we like the most is like if we go to an event that is like from someone in the community, or
you know it's people, good, or you know you're safe.
You know the passion
for the vibes,
right? The passion's there, right? Like this is why I'm a big advocate for local events too. Because you can see your favorite artist, they're gonna come in, but they're doing a job. Like I would say, like these local events, like the ones you see pop up, please attend them. Like if you're ever free, just attend them, because the passion these DJs and like the event organizers display.
Yeah, I don't think that it'll be bad. It's actually pretty good.
It's actually very good.
Yeah.
So shout out once again, shout out to you guys, shout out to everyone doing this, because
Shout out to Sleepless.
yeah. So shout out to Sleepless as well for our event episode, because they had the same drive to start it, just like how you guys did.
So what does Levels Entertainment look forward to within the next year maybe or so?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Obviously, we're always kind of like game planning and continuing to look for like, what that next step is. I would say like what you can expect for us is kind of like twofold. One, like we recently launched our like Level Up community, which again, like is just kind of what we've been doing, but a bit more like formal in a way, where we wanted to set up just a bit more like infrastructure around like how we can continue to like be that platform for people. So if you're interested in joining the community, like either come out to some of our community events, or there's also a link in our Levels Entertainment bio. But I know all of you guys hang out on our Discord as well. And it's really, again, the core is just like bringing people together that are interested, but also pairing up people that are in the scene so people can continue to work together. Because there's, a lot of times, like if you're a new DJ and you're, starting to DJ, you don't know people in the scene, it can be really hard to like get that start. And then the other thing is like we're really looking to like grow ourselves in terms of like starting to book like more unique talent and like international people. So we actually have our first one that's still TBD to be announced, but the first one not the first one, we've done a bunch, but our next one rather, like at the start of December, where like we're bringing a UK artist here, and like so that's the thing that you can see from us is a lot more like headliners, but
TBD Warehouse.
Not TBD Warehouse.
No,
we can't
TBD
afford
basement.
but TBD.
TBD basement.
TBD basement. Yeah, actually, literally.
Have you guys experienced any challenges? Like we've obviously had challenges too, like just with like some of the podcasts. But have you guys seen any, like we talked about with the Sleepless guys in our previous episode, where some of the challenges they face hosting events, trying to get people out? Anything you guys have experienced that you want to touch upon, like something that's been like, oh damn,
pricing, location.
Like I would, all of the above. It's a very tough industry. The like financial side of it is like tough, even in terms of like even just breaking even on these events and like throwing them for like the fun, or throwing them to like continue to try and grow. Like even just break even is like pretty hard. It's an expensive city. Also we're lucky there's so many shows, but there is like not competition, but there's a lot going on. And people only have so much time and energy. So all of those items, I think the approach that we're going to continue to take is really just trying to like throw those more like niche experience focused events, because it is like the aspect of raving that like we enjoy is, you have your normal club events and your festivals, but really trying to like bring that festival energy like to our shows is something that is really important to us, and making sure that like when you come to our shows, it feels like, oh, hey, like this again is like for ravers, like by ravers. It's not just, a whatever event. And then really like, again, focusing on that community aspect of, when you come to our shows, you see the same people, you get to, make friends and connect with like people that are, thinking the same way. Right.
So, I do recognize like a lot of like the talent, the DJs at Levels, but what is like a newer DJ or like somebody newer that you are bringing on or you've brought on? Because like I feel like I kind of know the usual like lineup.
Yeah, I mean, also like to start, like a big part of kind of like getting Levels off the ground was actually like using our personal networks a lot, and our personal like friend groups, in terms of like myself, Dan, and Kenny, our co-founders, and that was like a big part of like even just like making it valid to like get people out. But now that we've grown a bit more, like we can be a little less like reliant and focused like on us as DJs. And so like we have a number of people that are like part of our community. I mean, Karts is like another up and coming DJ. Brucci is someone else who's in our community who will be playing at our upcoming like
I will look into
events. Them. Shout out Aaron Berg, who's been like playing with us like from the start. So a lot of these guys, also like shout out to all of our like partners in terms of like IMX, like Sean at Rewind, the King Queen guys, like those guys, both in from
so we're all communities. So we
Overlord, like
everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So like there's so many people that we like to work with, and we continue to just like try. We have a upcoming like community event in the middle of November, which you guys are actually going to be a part of. So it might be in
more
the past.
details soon on that.
Might be at the past when this comes out, but even for that, like we have basically like 6 all not brand new DJs, but brand new DJs playing for us.
Oh, congrats.
And so like continuing to like use our platform to like put new people on and just give them the opportunity is something that we want to.
I said we appreciate, like I said, we have the podcast, and we appreciate what you guys do to for the you guys have any other questions you want to ask?
Do you have any other final thoughts, Nev?
No, I mean, also just like shout out to you guys in terms of what you're doing. I've been like watching since like the very start. I know
Thank you.
I knew you guys like right as soon as you launched it.
I think you connected.
Episode, I think I messaged you guys and I'm like, I would love to come on. I know it's been a little bit of time.
We've been talking about it for a while, so we're able
to make it work.
We're glad we finally were able to get you on, right?
Mm-hmm. So I've been listening to all of them, and honestly, like all of the stuff that you guys are talking about and putting like resonates with us, and I know the community appreciates it as well. Just thanks to you guys, and again, like thank you for having me on. It's been really fun, like preparing for the episode and just like hearing what we want to talk about, but more so just recording today and hanging out with you guys. So
this is good
thank you, Nev.
For all our listeners, we hope you guys enjoyed the topic. Just a deep dive into it, right? Like it means a lot to us, this community. So we just wanted to share what aspects we like. Hopefully some of it resonates with you.
Yeah, and if you beg to differ, feel free to DM us. Yeah. This is an open community. So thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed and want to support us, please share it with a fellow raver, like and subscribe. Do leave us a comment or DM for any questions or feedback about the episode. It wouldn't mean the world to us if you did. Yeah.
So like for as what Christy said, this podcast is audience funded. So we do have a donation link in the description if you want to support us. We're going to keep pumping out content. So a little goes a long way. So we appreciate any donations on that. We also, big advocate for earplugs, we have an affiliate with Hears. It's a brand new company in Netherlands. They just partnered with Vernept, a hard techno community, and also ADE, which is probably the biggest music gathering in the world. Yeah. If you group by their, we have an affiliate link. So if you group by their package, you get a huge discount. Very good earplugs. I know a lot of us are using it, but if you only need,
I personally use it.
Yeah. A bunch of us have bought it. But if you only need a single earplugs, we also have an affiliate link with Zound for 10% off. Everything's in the description. Honestly, protect your hearing. It's probably one of the most important things, especially being this long in the scene.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, all these reduce the decibel by like 19 to 20.
Yeah. You get to experience all the fun things that we said about what makes raving special for a long time.
You need your ears to listen to music for the most part.
Yeah, you'll lose an important aspect of what makes raving special if you don't protect your ears. And honestly, guys, sounds better with earplugs. I'm going to say that.
It is.
But yeah, that's it for this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.